to another edition of Bob Talk on Bob's Radio. Usually, when I bring this person, or rather, whenever you see this person online, he's constantly posting these posts about my line for this event, my line for that event. So I thought it was only fitting that I, throw in a line that would be a good introduction to him. So let me say, Bob's Radio is the heartbeat of Bangalore, and this man is the voice of Bangalore. And we are here to put one scene. So welcome to Bob's Radio, Rakesh.
Let's put it one scene. Let's put it. Hi man, how you doing? Yeah.
Very well. How are you? You've been having a solid travel stint, and
Yes.
it's back to back. Good to
Yes.
see you back in the Luru.
Thank you so much.
And you don't get tired of it, like constant traveling.
Not really, because I don't treat these travels as literally travels. I treat them as me getting to an event venue of mine.
Mhm.
So whether it's within the city or outside of the city, it doesn't matter to me anymore. For me, it's just about getting to my event venue, because in that entire journey, I'm doing many things in my head with my phone,
Uh-huh.
with the things that I carry around with me. So for me, it doesn't really feel like a travel anymore. So gone are the days, it's a passe now that you have to travel from here to Delhi, go there, check into a room, do an event and get back. All of that is kind of been eliminated from my life. For me, it's just about landing at the event venue, straight away, go to the stage, take your brief, roll with the show. That's
When
about
you
it.
see me smirking, I had this doubt. Man, this bugger's got so much energy. Can I match up to it? And the beginning itself is quite an overwhelming start.
Thank you.
And just like your start to events industry as well. But before that, it was not like you went into emceeing or arranging just like that.
Mhm.
Because you were emceeing during your college days.
Yes.
At St. Louis College of Commerce.
Yes,
A lot of
yes,
mutual
yes.
friends also that we know of as well who
Yes.
spoke well of you. And
Thankfully.
so were you a prankster in college or something?
I was not a prankster as much as I was not a very, I was a very infamous guy. If you understand what I mean, very infamous. I wasn't notorious, I wasn't naughty, I wasn't a prankster, but I was a very infamous guy.
Like they knew you existed.
I existed and I was known for not such great reasons. I
Okay.
was known to be a nerd when it came to studies. I was known to be like quite a hardliner when it came to doing work for college. I was known to being a guy who used to be very strict with what he wanted and how he wanted it. So I was known for those reasons. Yeah.
Like you just existed. People knew, okay, that bugger's my classmate or
Yes.
he's in my college.
Yes.
Not like, bro, that is Rakesh. That wasn't the case.
Like I said, I was known that way. Like that is Rakesh, but not for the right reasons or not for the popular reasons. Dude, this guy, man, he's such a stuck-on. Dude, this guy is such a hardliner. Dude, this guy, do you know what he made me do? That's how I was known in college.
But I guess that transition has just changed over time.
Mhm.
And I think that started off, like you said, you come from very humble beginnings and you had to work your way up to get to
Yeah.
where you are today.
Yeah.
But the choice of working with the family business and also starting a corporate life, because this is not something that everyone can take a call on, especially coming from this sort of a background, because you have a certain business being run and you probably will be looked at the person to take it the next in kin, right? But was it hard for you to choose that corporate stint, or is it like, listen, I'm going to do this, and you just went about it?
See, I come from a very conventional, orthodox, or probably a strict kind of a life. Or if I may have to say, from a community that follows this kind of a lifestyle. So it wasn't easy for me to fight those social barriers. So for me, more than the mental barrier, more than me being able to do it or not, me being able to crack it or not in the big industry out there, it was how to fight the social barrier that the community has created,
Mhm.
or probably also the family that comes from such a conventional background had created in their heads. For them, obviously, the be all and end all of it was the family business that we had. And being the eldest person at home, I was naturally drawn into it. I was in fact even sucked into it, and I was doing that religiously for quite some time. For about 14 years of my life, I was doing that, starting from my younger days in school
Uh-huh.
right up till college. It came a point where I figured that I'm not the guy who's made for sitting right behind the counters, or probably having a job that is very static to a place, or a job that does not require too much of your energy or action coming out, as much as it did require too much of my mind that went into it. So slowly over a period of time, I figured that I can't be held or pinned down to a place. I'm literally like a ball of energy that had to burst out.
It needs to be out there.
Yeah, the ball of energy that had to burst out, or probably had to roll out. And I think my time in itself found me rolling out, and naturally I just rolled with it.
And you rolled into a corporate life.
Yeah.
There is always this point in life, when you say, man, it's getting monotonous, it's getting boring. What was the reason? Was it coming from, a piss off of a superior, or was it something like, what am I even doing?
No, so for me, getting into corporates was purely like an insurance that I had to give myself, because I had quite a lot of load on myself. in terms of taking care of the family, in terms of also paying off certain good amount of loans that were taken by the family, which I wasn't responsible for. That, and also had to probably take care of my expenses because I was growing child, right? I also had my own expenses.
Right.
So I, for a fact, everybody knows that the entertainment business, at least for the newbies or the freshers or the starters, you'll know this better, doesn't really pay that well.
Yeah.
Right? You got to probably sometimes even land up doing things for
For free,
charity,
yeah.
or for probably on a freebie basis for you to get more work.
Correct.
So I knew that one thing for a fact, that the other side of the industry is not going to be paying me that much. So I had to get a corporate job so that I could pay my bills, so that I could pay the rent, so that I could take care of the loans, so that I could actually put a living together for my family, because I was the only earning member of the family at that point in time. So I did that for a good amount of 3-4 years.
So you, what do you say? You exchange your times between your corporate life and also
Yeah.
dabble around your emceeing as
Yeah,
well.
because I also knew for a fact that I'm not one of those guys who has to just probably sit at a desk. Like I said, I couldn't have been pinned down to a static job where it just expects me to sit in front of the computer, type out stuff, do reports, take calls. Yes, I love doing all of that, but I couldn't have done that for long. And I knew that there was always this thing in me that I wanted to be an entertainer. I'm someone who can create and design
Right.
entertainment. I'm someone who can create and design content. So I need to be putting that side of me out there. So while I was working in HP as a corporate employee, I was doing these night shifts, these graveyard shifts, which would start at 9 p.m. and would end at 6 a.m. Right? At the same time, I would finish that quickly, go home, freshen up, have my breakfast, and log into another place, which used to be an event management company.
Okay.
So I would log into the event management company. I would spend time till about 4 or 5 there, from about 11 to 5, and then I would just go home for about 2-3 hours, get a nap or something, and 9 o'clock back again to HP. I did that for a good 3 years.
My God.
Yeah, so I would do double shifts in a day.
So where was fitness and then?
There was nothing like that existed in my life. Like always, again, understand, I come from a very orthodox, conventional, or a rigid kind of a setup in my life. There wasn't, for us things like fitness, for us things like stepping out with friends or doing a tour.
No, the reason I asked you about
all
fitness,
that was luxury.
Yeah, the reason I asked you about fitness was, I know your generation, or rather your time, is when the whole call center, the BPOs, the corporate started coming into the scene, right?
Yeah.
And the night shifts was a big scenario back then, where people used to work and come back and they lost their daily lives. Like when I say their mornings were gone, the day lives were gone.
Yeah.
They always wish to be seen post the sunset.
Yeah.
And that somehow has taken a toll on their health as well. Most of them who I know.
See, for you to
But for you to come back and even do this, like, go into an event management company, was it a passion or was it because you had to run the mills?
See, firstly, for you to be losing life because of doing night shift, you need to firstly have a life.
Right.
I didn't have one. Okay, for me it was always very regimental. That I was always doing two things. I was doing school and I was doing my family business. I was doing college and I was doing my family business. I was doing HP and I was also working in an event management company. So for me, it was a norm.
Okay.
I had understood life that way, that you are born to be working. You're born to be just working, which is what I was doing. So there wasn't like a major difference for me when I stepped out of college and stepped out of my family business and I took into event management and I took into the corporate life. So I was still dabbling two things in my life. So there was nothing really like in terms of, so when you say life includes health, it includes fitness, it includes food, it includes dressing up well, it includes you stepping out, having a social life.
Right.
I might come across a little cynical, but I never really had any of that.
Okay.
Until I figured that these things also exist and these are things that comprise life.
So you were just working with a motive and running the mills to put food on the table.
Yes, I was always doing that. I was doing the family business because I was programmed in such a way to believe that unless you go out there and earn for the day, you don't really deserve to have food on that day. So that's the kind of regimental thought process I was brought up with and I was living with that. And I believe that's how it is. And similarly, that carried on with my work as well when I stepped out to work in HP and event management company, thinking that unless I work, I won't be able to put food on the table. Unless I work and do double shifts, I won't be able to make more money to clear off loans. Unless I work and do two jobs, I won't be able to take care of my other bills. right? So I was always into that zone for a good number of, I would say 14 years of family business and school and college. I was doing both, and then about another 10, 12 years of doing corporate and double jobs like event management and corporate job, and then event management and radio, then event management, radio and emceeing. So I was always doing multiple jobs.
No, that's how I figure how you get in that kind of a network. I mean, I'm going to come to that part as well later into the radio career scene. But there is always this point, right? You're doing the corporate job, you're also doing this event management scene. And for you to say, with that baggage you already have, and say, okay, I'm going to put this, on hold right now. I'm going to focus on emceeing. I'm going to get into a radio scene, whatever. That thought would have propped up or pepped in from somewhere or the other. Like they could have something that could have happened in life and said, this is what I'm going to take away from the corporate job and the event management focus, go into radio.
See, I'll tell you what, it applies to those people probably who start fresh, who start from scratch, who start with a mindset of being ambitious and wanting to get somewhere. In my case, it was none of this. I didn't start from scratch. I started from minus. Because there's so many number of years of my life where I hadn't done so many things, right? I was only doing certain things in the family business and probably at HP. So I started from minus. I had a gap to fill first, of putting together food on the table, like I said, of making sure my bills are paid, of making sure my loans are taken care of. So I was filling in that gap of minus, and I was willing to do anything that came my way to fill in that minus and come to zero at least.
Okay.
So that is when I was doing HP and I was doing event management and I was dabbling between these two things, is when All India Radio also cropped up.
Okay.
Okay. So that is when, that time, at those days when I was talking about in 2004, there were only two radio stations in Bangalore. One was Radio City, the other one was All India Radio, FM Rainbow.
Right.
101.3. Okay, so there were only two radio stations. So if you really wanted to make it big like a celebrity or be on the radio, to be a great talker, it was only Radio City, and they had only 4 slots. And those were the days which was occupied by Darayas, Sunaina Lal, Johnsy and Rohit Bakar. So these were the 4 guys. So how do you fit in between these 4? So obviously it was next to impossible, right? So which is when this FM Rainbow came as an opportunity, saying that every 6 months they have this open auditions for people, which they still do. By the way, they still do. So anybody can go and try, which is how I get my interns to go and try their hand at radio. So anybody can go do the auditions, do the written exam, do their personal interview and get in. So this call came to me, but it came in a little late. So I couldn't take it up because I was dealing with my health issues. Obviously, because of these kind of shifts that I was doing late nights and early mornings, and it was all over the place. So my
lack of sleep.
So there was nothing like a sleep cycle or a food cycle. So I was all over the place, and so much so that I was almost in the hospital myself. And I had paid my own bill through a credit card. I went unconscious because they did an endoscopy of mine, and I was there for like 2 days. People at home thought I'm probably doing double shifts for 2 days back to back. So nobody knew I was at the hospital. So that's the time I got a call. I still remember Sandeep told me that the auditions that happened 2 months ago or a month ago at All India Radio, which I couldn't go for, they have recalled for the audition because one person backed out. So usually out of some 400, 500 people who go in for the auditions, about 6, 7 of them get selected for a period of 1 year or 2 years, and then if they're good enough, they continue with All India Radio. You get a slot to host your own radio show. So that's when what happens is, out of 6 or 7 people, one of them backed out. So they're saying they're having a re-audition for that one person, that one slot. So I went in again. So there were about 200 people for that one slot. And what are the chances that I got it?
So you started off at All India Radio?
Yes, I started off at the All India Radio. So I did the written test, I did the voice test, I did the personal interview on the same day. And out of all the 200 people, I was the only guy who got selected for that one slot. And I'm like, okay, this is now, I don't know, it's just dropped into my lap.
It's destiny.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen.
Yeah.
And also, since you got it at that time, was Sandeep already in at that particular
Sandeep
time?
was already in by that time.
And so you spent, 2-3 years in FM Rainbow and then moved to radio?
Yes, so I was doing regular shows at FM Rainbow. So that's when it became 3 jobs. I was doing HP, I was doing event management, and I was doing radio. So I had like 3 ID cards in a day. So I would just kind of shuffle ID cards in a day and go to different places, log into different places. And none of them had a problem because there was no conflict of interest.
Yeah, because
event guys had
different industries.
Yeah, so they had no conflict of interest. As far as you log in on time at our place, we are fine with you. Whether you sleep on the road or whether you're eating or you're not eating, we don't care. That's
but was FM Rainbow every day for you? Because I know that people used to go on
It wasn't every day. It was like once a week. But somehow what would happen is someone would back out or someone would be sick. I would get at least 2 or 3 slots every week.
And what is the amount you were getting paid at FM Rainbow? Because this
Those
is
days, yeah, I remember. Those days we used to get 800 rupees paid for one shift. So you would not get to do more than 4 shifts in a month. Right, because it's a government station.
Correct.
And if you do more than 7 or 8 shifts, then you become an employee of the station. And then you become a government employee. Then new rules apply. So they wouldn't let that happen. So they would make sure you don't get more than 5 to 6 slots in a month. So I would land up getting about 6-7 slots
because
in a month.
Because of the backouts.
Yeah, so which would be like literally 2 or 3 shows every week. Right, and each show used to be a 5-hour show. It's not like a 1 hour or 2 hour show. It's like a 5-hour show, and each hour used to be different. 1 hour you're playing Hindi retro, the other hour you're playing English whatever pop music, the other hour you're taking requests. Then 1 hour there is a talk show with some guests that they would just randomly bring into the studio, and 1 hour would be just like some other music, right?
And you didn't have a producer at all?
No, not at all.
So you went through the content all yourself?
Yes. You do your own content, you select your own music, you figure out what you want to talk, you figure out how many callers you want to take on the show. There is no recording facility, you take live callers. There is nothing like a music system where you play music out of like now how all the new radio jockeys, which is what I tell all my interns or all my radio jockeys who I train, you all have the luxury of just clicking a button and things play.
Yeah.
You all have luxury of segueing music, you all have the luxury of patching things, recording in advance and scheduling your show. We had none of that.
None of that.
We had to be live. We used to use this 1942 ka
analog machines.
No, CD machines.
Yeah.
We used to have these CD machines. So while we're talking, we're checking on the CD. At the back of the CD, we're checking which song to play, pulling out the CD, putting the CD in while we're talking, by the way, and then pressing on the button. And then the music plays and you put the fader up. So many times the button wouldn't press. So many times when you would press, you would skip to the next song while you're talking about that song. Yeah, so which is what I tell a lot of people. When you work in All India Radio, if you worked in All India Radio for at least a year, with all due respect to that place, you can work in any radio station in the world.
And I always told this to a lot of people. I mean, people who have started off from All India Radio have always been names that are well revered in the city, and also names that are, actually legends, you could say. And it's like even your best friend is from there as well.
Yeah. So those days, Prithvi was with me, and Chaitanya Hegde was there, Kiran Sridhar, all these guys were like the big wigs of radio right now. Kiran Sridhar was there. Even Rohit Bakar used to do a hot mix segment in All India
FM Rainbow.
Yeah, on FM Rainbow. So his slot usually used to come in on a Saturday when I used to be doing a show. So it would be between my show. So he would just bring a CD, play it on, and this just chill.
I mean, this generation wouldn't know about the good old days of FM Rainbow because of the music that was played and also the kind of RJs that there were then, right? It's like a completely different cycle of events in life.
Yeah.
And from there, you went on to Radio 1 after, I guess, a year or two.
Yes, that's when I moved on to Radio 1.
And then the others took a backseat, like your corporate life took a backseat, but the corporate life transcended into a radio corporate life.
Yes.
And what did you start off as an RJ itself?
No, I started off as a producer.
Okay.
So I was called in by Radio 1 to conduct their auditions.
Okay.
Only because I knew the events scene well and I also was in the radio business. So Radio 1 was new to Bangalore. They are a Mumbai radio station, right? So they were new to Bangalore and they were looking for someone who could put their auditions together.
Right.
So it was Anjan and me who were in this All India Radio, and we put these auditions together. So we booked a studio, we called all the RJs or prospective RJs in the city to kind of do the auditions. So I was doing the auditions along with Anjan and Anil Machado, and we were all doing the auditions together. And suddenly Machado said, "Why don't you go audition yourself?" So I went, did that, and he saw that there is some potential because we were looking for hardcore Kannada RJs. But I wasn't a Kannada speaking person that time, right? So he said, okay, this guy has some potential, and said, you come on board as a producer. So I got onto the station as a producer of the station, where I would produce shows for every show.
Like for those of you wondering what producer is, someone who puts the scripts out together, runs the mill of every single show, then the RJ just talk.
Yes.
Bring the personalities out.
Yes. So that's when it all started for me. I got in as a producer, then I became a executive producer who would handle all shows, and because I was doing only the morning show as a producer, then I became an executive producer. From then on, I also became an RJ because then I started going on air with Prithvi on the morning show, and also did my own show on Sundays called One Bengaluru, One Music. We used to do the Saturday morning show. Then this Professor Ulfat Sultan character started, which I kind of scripted and voiced it myself. That went on for about 10 years on the radio. Then I did several roles in the radio till I became the programming manager. So I was also doing client solutions, I was also doing music
So
manager.
you've done everything.
Yeah.
It's not like you did only the programming side of things in terms of only the job talk and the producer thing, but you've also done script writing for ads.
Yeah. So I've done script writing. I also did sound engineering. So I would produce my own ads. I would produce jingles. I still do. I still do it for some of the clients that ask me to do it. So I did all of it till I reached a point where I became the programming manager. So I would head the station then.
And all this, I mean, I don't want to discuss a lot about Ulfat Sultan because the whole city knows what Ulfat Sultan is. So that'll be like running back into the same old thing.
Yeah.
But there was one thing, corporate life, event manager, finally hit radio. Then, before I ask you this question, I want to ask you something else. What does Bangalore mean to you?
Bangalore for me, as much as this sounds cliche, I think Bangalore for me is an emotion. Yeah, I ride on the city. I ride on with whatever is happening in the city. Because firstly, it's a small city. At least back then, it was quite a small city. Everybody knew everyone, and whatever used to happen in the city, people would know about it, and everybody knew about it. And especially in the entertainment space in Bangalore, again, it was a smaller, it was a very smaller community, right? And people who were doing really well and people who knew the in and out of it, some of us who kind of really gotten onto it early, we kind of knew everything that was happening in the city. So everything that was done, it was done from the heart. Right? It was done from the heart because it belonged to you. You knew everybody out there. There's so many times where I wouldn't even be part of the event, but I would be helping certain event managers put together that event. Right? And so many times the event managers would say that we don't really have budgets for this event, but will you host it for me? And I've done it for them. So for me, it was and it still is very emotional. Even till date, there are those old timer event managers who call me for certain things and I'm always out there for them. So for me, Bangalore has always been an emotion. I still ride on it and I still soak in it completely.
And because it's such an emotion, and I think it's an emotion everyone is very dear to the city, you decided to contest to BBMP elections, being the youngest candidate in the country.
Yeah.
I also know the reason was you wanted to clean certain things up and all of these things.
Yeah.
But isn't that something all of us want to do? But somewhere because of the big honchos having the power and the money, we don't end up being in that position to get there.
See, it's always easier to just turn your back around and start walking just because you see certain impossible situations in front of you. But again, if you look at it this way, it also comes from this thought process that I've brought myself up, is that things were always impossible for me, right? When I had such huge loans to pay and such things to take care of so early in my life, and I didn't really have greater job opportunities, right? So I would still manage to somehow, like I told you, I still remember my first salary at HP used to be some 8,300 rupees, which I used to put together.
Night shift.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I used to get that kind of money only because I was doing the night shift, because they used to have a separate allowance for the night shift. So somehow put together, I used to make about 8 grand there, some 3-4 grand with the event management, and then about 2-3 grand with the emceeing job. All India Radio used to pay me 800 rupees per slot. So they used to get about 1,000 rupees, 1,600 rupees per week. So somehow I used to put together money like that, right? And obviously it wasn't easy that way, right? So you just sail through it. So things were always impossible. So that impossible streak in me, to fight the impossible streak in me, came in this way as well. So what if there are these giant political parties on the other side? There is always a system, right?
Correct.
There's always something that's been put down in the most righteous way. It's just that people have manipulated it. People use it, twist and use it for their benefits. People try and malign the entire thing and make politics appear such a bad word. So I wanted to somewhere get in and change this entire thing. I knew it wouldn't happen at the first go, but I said maybe somewhere someone needs to take a step, right? So that's when I had moved out of HP. I had moved out of event management. I was only doing radio and a bit of emceeing as well. So that's when I thought to myself, now that I'm kind of figured my ground here as to what I want to be in life, let me also try and see if I can create a difference here a bit. Is when I took that step, saying that, okay, I know I'm going to face a lot of difficulties. I know I'm going to face dead ends. I know I'm going to face people who are literally going to, punch in my face, which happened, which it literally did. There was a time I was just lifted off. I wouldn't use the word kidnap, but I was lifted off for about 24 hours. I wasn't sent home. There were times I was offered money to withdraw from the elections. So a lot of things that you see happen in the movies actually happened with me in real life. So I said, I want to make this attempt. At least somewhere someone would probably think that, okay, there's someone who made an attempt, who stepped up to fight the system. Get into the system and try and fight it. At least I'm not going to be one of those guys who will regret down the line saying that, okay, dude, this country's gone to dogs. I don't want to say that. I did something before it went.
You know, I'm actually so happy for you because similar, like you at least executed what you wanted to do. So I went up to my uncle one day, pretty much about 24, 25, and I was so, you know, like really pissed off is the word I would say because the others fall short of the explanation. That I said I want to bring about a change and all that, and I told my uncle, yeah, I want to contest for next elections. I was shooted down straight away. Like in our language, he said, "Fuck your incident." If I have to, you know, make it right. But then, you know, that's the problem with us as citizens of the city. We see from where we were in Bangalore to where we are now. We are very regretful of what we've let the city get into rather. Right? And eventually we want to bring about a change, but in Bangalore's atmosphere itself is so what do you say? The weather is that you just let it pass. You just adjust and you move on. Like I remember this one time when I went to Hyderabad for an event, and I was like, "Whoa, this place is so good." Like I always had this air about Bangalore is the best city in the country. There's nothing you can match it because we as people are very warm. And when I went to Hyderabad, I saw the roads. I saw like we could reach a 30-kilometer distance in about 25 minutes. I was like cursing myself, what has happened to my city? And I just got out of the Bangalore airport, bro. The wind just came. There's nothing like this place.
Yeah.
And
True.
that's I think exactly what happens with people who want to question people, you know, people in power as well. But then they also have such a busy life going on that okay, we'll just like that adjust Mari lifestyle just kicks in. But do you think this can change in time? Because we as people are not vocal in terms to the people in power.
See, again, it's very subjective. What do you mean by change? A lot of people think that Bangalore has changed for the worse, right? For a lot of people, it means that not changing from how beautiful it was is a change in itself.
Right.
So change is a very subjective and a relative thing. Like a lot of people in Bangalore would say, Bangalore was great before, that's how it should have been, it's changed a lot now. But do you realize, has it changed for good or is it changed for worse? There are certain areas where it's gone to worse. There are certain areas which has changed for good. Look at the kind of boom that we have in the city, right? There was a time there were only about like a bunch of MCs. I'm talking from an artist point of view, an entertainment point of view, I'll talk about. There were only a few, about, you could name about 20, 25 MCs in the city about 15 years ago, right? And there used to be only that many handful of events that we used to do. And there used to be only that many number of clubs in the city, those many number of DJs in the city. Obviously, even the population was only that much. Look at the boom that's happened. There are 183 MCs of a group that I'm part of right now. Okay, and everybody is doing work, which is great. Which means there are equally that many number of companies or brands or entities who are doing events. And there are that many number of event managers who are hiring these many people. And there are that many number of clubs where events are happening because there are so many DJs. So the work is getting better and better and people are getting an opportunity to put themselves out there. I'm not even talking business because I don't really believe in the concept that growth is business, growth is money, or money is growth. I don't relate to that concept. For me, if you're able to get an opportunity to put yourself out, whether for free or for money or for passion or for whatever, which means you're doing really well, which means that environment is good for you. So I see that there is good amount of opportunities, good amount of stages, good amount of platforms for me to put myself out there, which means things are doing good for the city, things are doing good for me. Right? So there's a boom that way. If you look at the worst part of it, yes, of course, there is traffic, but which city doesn't have that today?
Agreed.
Right? If you look at it, the worst part is the weather is getting more harsh and harsh. Right?
We still have something to...
Yeah, but which city is not that way? Right? Places are getting congested, but which city is not having the same problem today? But having said all of that, let me tell you, I travel across the country. Right? I go to multiple cities. I'm in and out, hopping cities. Literally 6 months of the year, I'm out of the city and I'm in different cities. Right? I can still assure you for a fact that Bangalore is way better compared to a lot of cities in terms of the way it's been handled, in terms of the weather, in terms of traffic, in terms of an overall living lifestyle or condition. Bangalore is way better. I travel to many cities and I can vouch for it. I can say that. Not only because I'm from Bangalore, I'm a Bangalorean, Bangalore is an emotion for me. No, I'm a very practical guy when it comes to being honest about such things. Bangalore is way better compared to many cities out there.
and I will still hold that very
Yeah,
very good. And
yeah.
I don't want to sound very cynical and say no. I'm going to be same thing like Rakesh and say Bangalore. I mean, I'm being practical. No, I will go straight from the heart and say Bangalore is the best,
Yeah, yeah.
irrespective of
Yeah, sure.
what we hold on to.
Yeah.
But from Bangalore, let me come to is an emotion. Is something else is very close emotion to you. Friendship. That is what you had from your early days of radio, and it's not like only radio is where you were together. Because I remember you guys hosted events together, and I've done the pre-events for it, and it's a party when the two of you guys are there, right? And I can see that smile coming out. It's
I
like
know who
I'm
you're
talking about
talking
your lover, is
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, my worst half.
And also, I would say someone who's inspired me to take up radio, Prithvi. How did it start? Like this whole chemistry? Is it because y'all were comically that good with each other, or is it because y'all were in the same company?
See, if you look at it from a larger angle, Prithvi and me, we just hit it off because we have a very similar outlook and a approach to life. Okay, very practical. Want to do things that really matter, uh, and also very similar approach to looking at life on a lighter note. Okay, so that is where we hit it off. If you look at it on a larger perspective, but if you really have to kind of pull out our videos and pull out our content and radio stuff, and you look at it, we're doing some really frivolous stuff, and you'll be like, how are these guys even serious at that level? Right?
I see.
Because we're doing these dumb, stupid, silly videos, which is creating entertainment. We're also doing these links on the radio where we are flirting with whoever comes on the radio, even if she's a grandmother. We're just flirting. So you'll be wondering, are these guys ever serious in their life for the kind of stuff that they're doing? But we certainly are. It all comes from a very strong thought process that we have towards life and an approach towards life. We look at it very practically, which is what he does. And we also look at making we also have a very similar approach to entertainment, that we're born and probably we want to live only to entertain,
Right.
and whatever it takes to entertain we will do.
Even if it's rubbing each other's legs.
Yeah, we will do that because somewhere that chemistry kind of over a period of time, I wouldn't call it chemistry, I would say this chemical locha kind of resolved for us long ago, because we were spending that much time on the radio, right? I was his producer for the morning show, and then I also started co-hosting the show with him, and we were spending so much time together, like for about 10 years non-stop, that over a part of time you tend to rub off each other over habits, over mannerisms, over behavior, over likes, dislikes. Everything happens to be similar. We became so close over a period of time that his wife would sometimes ask me, what do you think I can gift Prithvi for his birthday? Because I would know him better than his wife would. That's where it reached.
It's more than best friends.
Yeah, so it reached that kind of, but the silly, or what are the flip side to it is, we don't spend much time together now. Because he's working in a different radio station, I'm in a different space right now, and we don't really get much time to spend with each other. But one thing we know for sure, whenever we meet, or wherever we meet, we pick it up from where we left, and we instantly hit it off because we've had that wavelength match from the very beginning, because of the amount of time we spent working on creative stuff. So which is where I would say is the connection is. It's not just two people who just like each other, or probably who have similar kind of wavelength, or who have similar purpose and objective or approach towards life will hit it off. In that case, it's a marriage if that happens, right? In this case, what happened was we're two complete strangers. We came together and we were working on creative stuff together. We would put together show ideas. We would design segments together. We would also try and do our edits together, recordings together, music selection together. So when you're spending so much time creatively with each other, you know that okay, this person likes this and this person likes this, and somewhere you come and meet at a point, right? So that is what happened with me and Prithvi. We spent so much time doing creative stuff that even life stuff happened together after that.